Hey, good morning, Playbookers. It's Todd here with the Church Playbook. And I'm here to answer your questions about the unique challenges that we as pastors face in leading churches of under 200. And it's about, not quite, 5:30 in the morning. And I'm headed to a taco shop because I had this wild idea on a Saturday night that I was going to offer this thing called Burritos Bibles, that I would bring the burritos if some guys brought their Bible, and I'm going to teach them how to do a quiet time for the next 6 Wednesdays at 6:30 in the morning. But none of the taco shops over here are open that early, so there's a couple of 24-hour shops, and I got to drive a little ways. Anyway, Bible study is essential for the Christian, right? Bible study is essential if you're a pastor. And not just because we have to teach and preach. I mean, there is no other job in the world like your job. I mean, case in point, this weekend, or not even this weekend, just a couple of days ago, I got a phone call from someone that I have not talked to in 20 years, and their mom died, and so they asked that I would officiate the memorial, which is this Saturday at 2 p.m. And then as soon as I'm done, I've got to race down to the beach to officiate a vow renewal for a couple that's been married for 50 years. So, you've got the low end, and then you've got the high end, and then I got a call last night about one of our church members, a relatively young mom, she's in her 40s, who maybe only has a couple of weeks left to live, and, they were asking me to do that memorial. So, the Bible study for a pastor is essential because, dude, our life is hard. And I don't say that to my church members, but, dude, I mean, unless you're a pastor, you don't get it. And I'm not saying that other people's lives aren't hard. I'm just saying, I mean, it's when their life is hard, who do they come to? They come to us. So Bible study is essential. I just want to, I want to say that up front here. Because the interesting thing is, ever since I came out with the Church Playbook, and you've seen it on Facebook, first of all, overwhelmingly, the response has been so positive. I mean, just yesterday, I got an email from a guy, bought the Church Playbook in the morning, read the whole thing in one sitting, and then emailed me to say, like, man, this is the book that I've been waiting for. I've heard a lot of the stuff that was in the book, but the way that you put it in there and in the order that you put it in there makes all the difference. So the response has been overwhelmingly positive, except there's a couple of people, and they mean well. I know they do. I'm not mad at anyone. But, and it's been said enough where it's almost a little comical now, where someone who's trying to be maybe a little more spiritual, their response will be, well, I've already got a playbook. It's called the Bible. Because they think I'm trying to replace the Bible. I get a handful of people that'll say, I don't need a playbook. I have the King James Bible. And then one old boy a couple days ago was like, I don't need a playbook. I have the authorized King James Bible. So apparently some of y'all been running around with unauthorized editions of the KJV. Oh, gosh, I hope you guys get that worked out. So the assumption is I'm trying to replace the Bible with this little book on the mechanics of small church growth, when I'm saying the exact opposite is true. In fact, I say right up front that you have to have, this book does not replace a thriving life with Jesus Christ. There's an entire chapter about how important your preaching and teaching is, and some ways to prepare for that. So hear me when I say Bible study is essential. Now, Bible study is not enough. Good theology is not enough. If you're counting on enough Bible study and good theology to grow your church, you are going to be sorely disappointed. I mean, here, let's just talk. Let's have some real talk for just a second here. And you could name a handful of mega church pastors. Their church is growing like gangbusters. They make the outreach top 100 fastest growing churches in the country every year. And if it were just you and me talking, you might say, well, I think their theology is a little sketcy, right? And of course, we don't need to name names, okay? But then 5 or 10 or 20 other pastors who love Jesus, who are like uber educated from, have their MDiv or their doctorate of ministry from some prestigious seminary in the country, and they love the Lord. They've got a deep and devoted prayer life. They do Bible study. They've got great theology, and they've got 20 people in their church. And of course, they're totally confused because they're thinking to themselves, like, Lord, I pray every day. I even fast. I have these great Bible studies. We're going deep in the Word. Lord, why can't we get more than 20 people to show up to our church? So, there are some churches that are growing like crazy, and you don't think they have solid theology. And then there's churches that have great theology, and they're not growing at all. It's because while Bible study is essential, it's not enough. In fact, there's a book written by a guy named Carl George. It was written in the early 90s, and then it got rewritten, re-edited, whatever, a year and a half ago or so. It's called Breaking Church Growth Barriers. And in this particular point, he's trying to make that most pastors don't know why their church grows. And so he tells a true story about how he went to a mega church. There's this street and this road, and there's a mega church on one side of the road, and there's a small little church on the other side of the road. And so they interview the mega church pastor, and they ask him, why do you think your church is growing? And the mega church pastor says something very, very interesting. He says, it's because we preach the Bible and we're faithful to it. said, okay. So then they go across the street to the little country church pastor, and they ask him, hey, your church has been in decline for years. Why do you think your church is not only not growing, but it's actually declining? Why do you think that is? And the small church pastor said, because we preach the Bible and are faithful to it. Friends, Bible study is essential. Good theology is essential. It's just not enough. So what is? So what's the dynamic duo that is going to spark growth in your church? Well, listen, it's good theology and good sociology. Okay, so in your sermons, you need to provide good information and good inspiration, but then the rest of the experience has to be about inclusion. People need to show up to your church and know that you know they're there, that you want them there, and that you believe they belong there. It's simple as that. You got to preach with information and inspiration, but then you've got to help people feel like they belong. So you need good theology and good sociology. If you've got good sociology and no theology, then you've just got a social club. But if you've got good theology and no sociology, then you've got a very small seminary class. And that's not why you pastor a church. You pastor a church because you want to see lives changed in your community. You pastor a church because you want God to be real and ever present in people's lives in such a way that they know that. You want to be there for your families. You want to shepherd your families. Yes, you want to teach, but that's not the only reason why you're a pastor. So, good theology, good sociology. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Why don't you leave a comment in the comment section? Do not forget, please, to like, comment, and subscribe to this YouTube channel. When you do that, YouTube is actually super intentional about putting these kinds of videos in front of other pastors that just need the extra help, need the resources. Oh, and if you will go to thechurchplaybook.com, not only can you now get the book, the Church Playbook, for free. I just ask you to cover a small shipping fee. But then you can also now have access to the downloadable ebook and the audiobook. And so you can go ahead and check that out there. So listen, friends, thank you so much for trusting me with your time and attention. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, let me know in the comments. If there's a certain video you would like me to do, leave that in the comments. And excited to hang out with you guys soon. Take care.